This is a real honor and privilege for me to be here today and to share the podium with 4 of your fellow students who, like all of you, are so impressive to me because of what you've been able to accomplish personally and ideally professionally as you move forward with your WGU degree. I've had a chance to meet and talk with them, and I know how proud they are to represent all of you in your class. I'm sure we will all enjoy their remarks, and I can only hope that I can come close to matching their stories, their eloquence, and their thoughtfulness. I really like the fact that they call this event Commencement. I know that all of you are delighted to say that you are done and that you have completed your degrees and your studies, and that you should really be proud because of the hard work and commitment it took to achieve that. But the name of this ceremony is intentional. They call it Commencement because it's a reminder that this is a new beginning for all of you. It's a chance to do more than just end a phase of your life, but to start something new. Your hard-won degree signifies what you've accomplished and learned, but it also starts a phase of your life that will be marked by a newfound confidence in yourself, in your skills, and the opportunities that are presented to you because of your experiences here at WGU. Sooner or later, these skills will help you accomplish and succeed in the environment that you choose. I'm truly honored and grateful for the opportunity to be here and celebrate with you. Like many of you, I am a first-time college graduate in my family. I grew up in a hardworking Irish family. My parents were immigrants, and they stressed constantly the value of education to myself, my brother, and my sister. They left the country that they loved so dearly because of the opportunities they knew that they would find for themselves and for us as a family here in America. And despite all of the political rhetoric that you hear from either side, this is still a tremendous country in terms of the opportunities that are provided to each and every one of us each and every day. My parents understood the value. My parents understood the value of education. And probably like all of you as students and your families, they were willing to make sacrifices to ensure that education took a primary role in our lives. It gave them opportunities to see all of us advance. I love my family very much and I cherish them, but my education has enabled me to live a life that is more secure, more comfortable than I know the ones they had. They struggled every day. My mother was a waitress. My mother worked as a checkout person in a grocery store. She worked as a bank teller. She did anything possible to make sure we could succeed. As technology advances, we know that a degree does not guarantee success, but is certainly an important prerequisite in this increasingly complex world. It is important that you think about your education as critical to making you qualified for the many well-paying jobs that are out there and the opportunities that yet to have been envisioned in the future. I'd also like to say that I'm incredibly pleased to be with many of my IU Health teammates here today. WGU has quickly become a critically important partner and resource in our efforts to ensure that IU Health both recruits top talent to our organization, but importantly provides our existing teammates with the opportunity to expand their careers, their skills, so that they can grow into new roles and responsibilities in our health system. For all of you who work at IU Health today who are here, I'm sincerely proud that you've taken the opportunity and the advantage and the flexibility that WGU offers to gain a degree that will inevitably help you furthering your professional goals. And I hope sincerely that's within IU Health. And for all of you who aren't IU Health members, Please look at our website. We want you to. In the few minutes that I have remaining, because I think one of the best objectives in a good commencement speech is brevity, I want to move away from the idea of professional success and really talk about what I think is critically important for all of you, and that's really why you pursued your education. It's really a reflection on your personal character and who you are, and leave you with a little food for thought as you commence from this event later today. I read a book that really stuck with me that if you get a chance to read, please do so. It's called The Road to Character, and it's written by an author named David Brooks, who writes for the New York Times. In the book, David Brooks argues convincingly that our society has become really good at talking about all the things that we've accomplished. You think about your resume and what you write on that resume, and it's really about the things you do. And what David Brooks really talks about is that we become less good about talking about the deeper, more fundamental issues about how we behave towards one another, how we engage each other in becoming more decent, more moral people who look for ways to give back to their communities and who do the right thing even when faced with the circumstances that are very stressful and very challenging. This idea of the road to character is really about a road to struggle. It's a struggle within ourselves. It's about facing our fears, facing our weaknesses, and accepting them, and always looking and trying to overcome those issues. It's about perseverance and persistence in the face of setbacks and failures that all of us will inevitably face in our lifetimes. And the idea is that you learn from that failure, and you always learn more from those failures than you will from your personal successes. One of the people portrayed in the book is one of my favorite people that I admire in history, and that's Dwight Eisenhower. President Eisenhower was remarkable in so many ways that sort of also reflect that truly American story. He endured many things, but he endured them because he was hardworking, he was talented, and he was ambitious. President Eisenhower languished for almost 20 years in the military in mid-level roles, which was shrinking at that point, the military, and didn't offer many opportunities for advancement or glory. But nevertheless, he stood by, and despite his frustrations of not being promoted, not getting the choicest jobs, he threw himself into absolutely every job he was offered, determined to do his best to learn as much as possible from each experience he had. He was patient, he excelled at what he did, and for every person that he worked for, he proved himself to be invaluable. He made himself great. So when war came for World War II, he was lifted out of the Army over hundreds of more senior officers and given the command of the American Army in North Africa. He was also then promoted to be the Allied commander in Europe, where that extraordinary set of experiences allowed Eisenhower to control his emotions, to keep his fractious commanders together, and forging an alliance that ultimately won the war. He was the right man at the right time, and it was the experiences that he went through during his years of frustration and the lessons that taught him, the character that he built during that time frame, that led him to lead the Allied forces to victory over Germany. None of us are likely to be called to save the free world from tyranny, but I do think there are ways each day that we can learn from General Eisenhower in the way that he conducted himself and what he described his years in the wilderness. That hard-earned strength of character that stood him so well, and then when challenged in a time of crisis, he relied on those lessons to make himself great. The portraits that David Brooks paints in this book are really remarkable. There are stories about the first female cabinet secretary, Frances Perkins, A. Philip Randolph, who actually preceded Dr. Martin Luther King as one of the greatest civil rights leaders and the first prophet of nonviolent resistance here in the U.S. And even for me, a real character is St. Augustine, who traveled in the wilderness probably more than most, and then became later in life a role model and ultimately a saint. But all these stories in the book are really about people struggling against both external forces and their own personal internal challenges that mold and shape them to achieve great things when they're called or summoned to do so. Another one of my favorite stories in the book is Dorothy Day. Unfortunately, not a lot of people know about Dorothy Day or her story, but she was really one of the great social reformers in the 20th century. That's because most of the time Dorothy Day spent serving the poor and the disadvantaged. Day founded the Catholic Workers Movement, which dedicated themselves to applying Catholic social policy and teachings to creating a place where it would be easier for people to do good and to care for those who are less fortunate, an incredibly noble goal. Toward the end of her life, she received the Later Day Memorial Medal from my alma mater, Notre Dame, which is the most prestigious award that can be bestowed upon an American Catholic. And what I loved was in her acceptance speech, she said her goal was really to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable, to really motivate people to make a difference and to open their eyes and see the world in front of them for what it really was. The prize language sums up clearly her life's work, but what Brooks captures in his book is her quest to find a transcendent purpose in her life, which she could sacrifice herself and devote all of her energy to. And once she found that purpose, she devoted herself to that completely and fully, and every day lived for that cause. She not only lived and served the poor, but she lived amongst them. She sacrificed all of her physical comforts in life in her commitment for the less fortunate. And in doing so, she found more important rewards, a closeness to people she served, and a deep gratitude for the purpose in her life. I frequently get asked by people to serve as a mentor, and the one thing I try and advise all of them is to ask themselves how they think about their days. Are they committed to a job? Are they committed to work? Or do they truly feel that they have a vocation? This notion of, are you committing yourself fully, not just to the work or the job you have, but truly the mission of what you're trying to accomplish. And so I hope today that all of you think about what is that great vocation that you will pursue. The lesson primarily in this book is really about working to better ourselves, to provide for our families, and to do our best. That's really what life's journey is all about. The struggles, the victories, and even the defeats. And those things are more important and more formative for us in terms of our character and where we wind up in life. Achieving goals is incredibly satisfying, but more importantly, it's how we achieve those goals. The satisfaction of knowing that we've worked hard, that we've overcome the obstacles, that we've surprised ourselves with what we can do, and the people we meet and ideally befriend along the way, these are the greatest rewards of studying, of working, and of living. So please, by all means today, take time to celebrate what you've accomplished, because earning your WGU degree is a tremendous accomplishment. Enjoy the congratulations of your friends, your family, who should be and are truly proud and happy for you. Congratulate yourselves as well. Take pride in the satisfaction of knowing that you've reached an important and very meaningful milestone in your life. But then I'd ask you, it will be time to commence. to take the next opportunities and steps in your journey. It will be time to move on to those new challenges, to overcome new obstacles. Remember that you will likely struggle, that you will always be learning, always striving, and always trying in your journey. That's how we build character, and that's how we become the people our family, our friends, and ideally ourselves can be most proud of. This is how we achieve true greatness and satisfaction in life. So I wish you all tremendous luck. It's not going to be luck because you're well trained, so you will have good fortune. Thank you all, and God bless.